It's time for the visit with a person of high strangeness. It had gotten cold, so we came inside. I was showing off my shoes that I bought in 1992 in California, and they were Converse. And here, lo and behold, they are so back in style. I was just so good. On that particular trip, this is long before we turned this into shows, they had a sale where you could buy a pair of shoes for $1, and I think I bought 120 of them, all different shapes and color, and so we are now really up to date. A few weeks ago we showed you a shoe store, and that's what they wear in these days. So we're going to go ahead and remind you that last week we were in Warm Springs on the Indian reservation. The sun was so bright that it kind of blinded me half of the time, but it was exquisite footage. And I think today we're going to head for Stonehenge. This is number 12. And we are going to stop by the Mary Hill Museum for a minute here. And we had according to my notes here, 15 months later, we had a boo-boo in the Dells. I don't remember what it was, but I guess we'll run into it when we get to it. And I'm see if I can get you a little sound here. We're getting ready to go into the Dells. Like I was telling you, actually this is show number 12. Yeah, we backtracked a little bit to remind you where we were. This is the bridge in the Dells. There was a boo-boo, I guess. This whole series, some kind of way, it had audio problems. We didn't want to scrap the project, so that's why talking over the whole thing. I was a little tired today. I did a lot of work, and so I thought I'd watch TV for a minute, and on one of the channels they talked about railroad. They talked about little trips on railroad cars going into the Cheyenne territory and things like that. And they said the train deliberately only had a speed of 10 to 15 miles an hour because this way you could see the scenery. And I realized that if we could drive 10 or 15 miles an hour, you would get a much better view of things. We are now back in Washington. This is the Dells Bridge with the dam wide open there. Because it's very hard to film, driving at high speeds. And so what happens is they also interviewed a gentleman that was a photographer, and he took pictures of trains. And he was explaining how sometimes he goes to great lengths to get pictures and photographs. And he said the only reason he can do this is because his work is his passion. And if he couldn't work his passion, he wouldn't do anything at all. And that's probably why he would never retire. And I kind of feel like that. 6 years ago we started to go on these trips, and for 6 years we've been taking you on these trips just like that, shaky footage and all, and sometimes I think maybe we should get back to the conspiracies and things, and we will. But then there are those of you that do enjoy these travel shows, and the name of this series is Roadrunner. It's the Columbia River. On the Washington side, I-24 is on the opposite side of the river. And I think we're going to Stonehenge. the past few weeks, we're very trying. Ebony and I, ready to go back on the road, right about where we're taking you. These shows had to be repaired. Summer finally arrived, I think, and actually we are here at the Maryhill Museum. We did not get permission to film inside. Ebony and I went back a few months later with permission, and we wanted to do that story for you. And then the gentleman was not there, so he canceled at the last minute. So you still haven't been inside. We will try again this year. Anyway, summer finally got here, and you know we do the things that we do in the summer and dig out lawn chairs and things like that. And so it's been real trying, and we've been very, very busy to pull all this off. Now, I don't know if we can hear this or not. Oh, I don't think so. But they have peacocks, and they holler and fly over you, and sometimes you have to duck, because here's one. We tried to capture a peacock, but he was very far away. And you just have to duck. And he was telling the story how we had talked to the people from their legal department, and we couldn't quite do it. They didn't have enough notice. And when you go to a place like that, sometimes they require to have permission from all the artists, or you have to notify people in the place that you're getting ready to film. Would it be okay? Do they want to be blocked out? Sometimes you have lovers that supposed to be one place and they ended up somewhere else, and lo and behold, one day they're on television. So it's a little time consuming sometimes.
That would explain why he did Stonehenge. And the fact that Mary, the Queen of Romania, my God, she gave him so many things, tells me that if he was living today, he would definitely be a light worker. Well, he was then too, a light worker.
I was trying to tell you the story here that
because he didn't believe in
the Queen of Romania, a lot of her belongings are in the museum there.
In killing people.
Mr. Hill was a flamboyant. He was a seer, and today we would call him a psychic. He also built Stonehenge. He was, by faith, he was a Quaker. And I think that's why he built a war memorial just a few miles up the highway here. We've taken you to Stonehenge many times, and chances are we'll go again there this year. Oh, I know. We made a wrong turn. When we realized we were heading for Yakima, we didn't want to go to Yakima, so we had to turn around. That seemed to have been a regular problem we had on this particular trip. We kept ending up somewhere else on a straight line. And that's okay sometimes, because it'll take us to somewhere where we wouldn't have ended up at in the first place. Yeah. So. Yeah, that's where we turned. Nice quiet afternoon. This is Mount Hood.
Finally made it Stonehenge.
We are at Stonehenge.
Here's Mount Hood. Kind of windy.
It's windy, like always. Bear with us here.
And here's Stonehenge.
The replica of the
But
original
desert, we're gonna
Stonehenge.
go over, we got 80 miles of nothing except desert, like this. Going to Highway
Now, this is
86,
the
and
first
then
time
over
we
to,
actually have Stonehenge from every
across
angle
the
you
path
can think of.
in
So what I
Vermont.
did is I put a collage together
Little
from
bar
different
here,
time
holding up
periods
really, really good.
in different years so you
the-
can see almost
See the clouds and
every
the trucks
angle
up there?
of the
That's where
structure.
they're going, way up there.
It started out with Ebony and myself. Now it's
We'll give you a
Claudia and
walkthrough
myself.
here.
We've been there in the RV.
Peaceful. It's nobody here today, but it's so early in the morning.
This was Tina and myself.
It's a whole day's, it's a day's trip, you know, from the Olympia area, but,
It's a lot windier in the evening,
I don't know
between
about
4 and
hotels,
7.
but there's an RV park on the bottom there.
There is an RV park on the bottom. I
And,
don't want to go down that steep, but some of you may be bold enough. So this has different seasons.
gravel, as you can see here.
There's a magic about the place where it just kind of draws you
Nice
back
and green.
there. Each year.
Yeah. Mount Hood in the background.
Only once did I catch it from, I was able to take a picture of it from the Oregon side, and if you really don't know where it is, you kind of miss it.
Then this is the
So
last
when
bridge
you are
that goes across,
when you
Oregon.
are on 84, I would
What
say it's
Your first film is done
maybe 5,
already.
no more than 10 miles before
Well, you know what we
you
have
get
to do
to
is we
the
have to find
Dalles
another
going
one.
west.
A dollar store is
This is CK when her and I was there.
well, who uses regular film anymore anyway? Digital.
And about that far going from west to east, if you look up and look for
Is
those
it
mountains,
anything like you saw on film? When you saw
you
it
see
on,
it.
on the show.
Yeah.
I want to know, when you see it on TV, what's the difference between seeing it on TV and experiencing it?
I'm asking her, what's the difference between watching it on television?
It's bigger, I think, you know.
And she said it's bigger.
You can film it, yeah.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
It was a
Smell it.
favorite in the European edition of these shows.
Well, we smelled a whole lot of stuff earlier today. Everywhere we went, it stunk. Now, Bend, Oregon is right down here.
Now this
That's
was
where they
at a
go for
time when we
place.
had not been to
And
Bend,
I saw
Oregon, so we didn't
a report
really
the other
have
day
the
where
details on the stories about
the underground
the volcanoes that's coming out of the ground in the fall line. On Roadrunner, this year we took you there early in this series, and so we now already have the answer to what we're asking here. We had also asked why it was built in this color, since he wanted to replicate Stonehenge, and they said, well, maybe it was the cost, or maybe he just liked that color, and the original Stonehenge is a different color. It's more reddish.
This is the war memorial. And this is the other side. There's an RV park down on the bottom. And
Yeah,
I don't
way
know how
down
they
there by the
expect you
water.
to
That's
drive
where the RVs go.
straight down.
I
don't
am
think I
not
want
that
to
bold.
take a car down there, but
I wouldn't even
suppose
drive my
people
car
are
down
bold
there.
enough to take the RVs down. Vineyards, and it's hot today. Yeah, people came with their dogs. Gonna stop at the gift shop for a minute.
So
Then
we're
we're
gonna
gonna
walk
leave.
that from different angles.
That's the gift shop from a distance. Then we're gonna go up here.
See where those
Where those
trucks
cars
are?
are.
That's where we have to go.
We've shown you this before. I think I'll
And I'm
take
gonna
it to
give you a little music to go with
the
this here.
subject before you is the first monument in our nation to military personnel gave their lives in World War I. Memorializing
Basically, I was
1800
reading
Flick-attack county man. It also serves as lasting reminder
when
to the
he,
works of Samuel
and
Hill,
it states when he
patron of
built
this
it
region. He
and
established
why
the
he
town
built
site
it in honor of
with
his
post
wife.
office hotel,
Of course,
general store, nearly
after
10 months of experimental paved
we had
roads,
been to
and
the
Mary Hill Museum, 3 miles to the west.
museum, we had a much better understanding of the whole concept than we did then. We were kind of filling in our own blanks here. And so being who he was, we talked about that, the seer and prophet and all of that. Back in that time period, people would not have appreciated the idea of what he was trying to do. And so by him turning it into a memorial for the soldiers, I think that was an extremely smart move on his on his part. And we so appreciate it. It costs $8 to go to the museum. It's very well worth it. I'm not sure if you allowed photographs or not, but I always ask, and usually sometimes they say no. And they have, in the basement there, you can even buy espressos and snacks and things like that. The gift shop here at Stonehenge opens at 9 and it closes at 4. There is no overnight parking allowed.
I can hear the wind again.
You can hear the wind.
This is the World War I Veterans Memorial on the Washington side of the Columbia River. We again accidentally ran into it, and
I think this
we
is
spent
from
the night
2003
to open the door.
when Sean and I went. I'll try to give you the audio.
We park there, but we took the liberty of doing that and visited with some people there, and it's only like 5 or 6 hours from here, and it's a replica of the original Stonehenge in England. And we eventually asked someone why it wasn't made of sandstone like the original one is.
I already
We were
told you all that.
The person paying the bills liked that color better.
How we wondered why it was not made out of sandstone.
From along the line there is a shot of
And here again, this is a different time of the year. What a magnificent place to film. Out of all the places I've been, I think Stonehenge and the rocket display in Utah were my favorites. mighty Columbia. You're watching a visit with a person of high strangeness. We are at Stonehenge in Maryhill, Washington. The music you're listening to is Douglas Brewfeather. It is always totally, totally windy. So hang on to your camera and your hat.
Right on the spot of
Originally, I wanted to use that as a closing shot. Then I changed my mind. Because it's a replica, it's the same measurements as Stonehenge in the original Stonehenge in England. It was actually taken in from the RV in 2003. And this was this year, early on, so you can see the different colors on the ground. Was also the only time it was not windy, and so I was able to walk to the back of it and give you a view from there, because normally I couldn't go back there. It would blow me right off of there. We showed you Anthony West and the Sphinx and the pyramids. The age of the Sphinx, and of course we always wonder, how do they build these things? How do they get them there? Well, I would think same applied here. Same height, same weight. How did they get that way up there like that? And I haven't asked anybody. So this year, while we're out here, in fact, Ebony and I is on the road while you're watching this. We're gonna see if maybe we can talk to one of the architects to see how did they get this one up here on top of the river. Now we're gonna walk to the back, around the back of the structure. This is Mount Hood. A little walkway is not very wide. But there was no wind, which was actually pretty excellent. Yeah, and here we are. One of the neighbors brought me some fruit because they knew we was leaving again. It got a little old, but we ate it anyway. But I take fruit with me when we go on a trip, and in this clip I was bragging about the fruit the lady gave us. Actually, it's supposed to be a mango, but look at it. It's green. I don't know why anybody would have a green mango like that. So we've been to Mary Hill. We've talked about Mr. Hill. We talked about the Queen of Romania, which was a personal friend of Mr. Hill's. And so I better get to eating my fruit here before the flies get to it. Speaking of flies and mosquitoes, again, I would like to let you know that Bob Grubbs from Bliss, Idaho, left us in September. He had West Nile virus, and Bob was a big fan of the show, and we miss him. Yeah, we miss him. So we've talked about everything. I guess we're just going to keep going and try to wind this part of it up today. And
with depth of replica of Stonehenge.
I'm still talking about Stonehenge on this clip. Again, I want to remind you, it was just awful. All the sound was messed up on the shows, so, but we're doing the best that we can. So let's head home here if we can. Absolutely. We'll try it here. I guess I got turned around again. All roads lead to Stonehenge.
White Salmon River. Sounds again. Lilian helped me with my log truck. I do not like log trucks.
It's amazing here.
One of those chains not be hooked up right, and those logs are coming down. Or if they hit a bump a certain way.
So we kind of reminiscing about where we've been, and we got around all the rock slides that had occurred on 14. In the meantime, in the winter of from 2006 to 7, Stevenson, which is right on this highway here, had mudslides in lost whole houses, and we didn't know which way this was going to go.
Climb that peak up there. I don't know how it's going to do that.
I'm going to be quiet and let you watch Sean.
But he does stuff like that. Our camera person.
Climb that hill.
And a very responsible, knowledgeable young man.
There he goes.
It was so windy. I was so concerned about him. Because it could have blown him right off of there. But by now we were almost sick of each other, so he had to find something to do other than film and document.
I don't know if he changed his mind or not. There he is.
We were so far up, we actually drove to the clouds.
Well, I guess we can give him some music. And, to go with that. And
the music was given to us from the Cheyenne, one of the Cheyenne people that produced that, and it was very pretty. Now there's Sean up on top, trying not to blow away and fall into the river.
Behind those bushes there. There's his head. I was worried. Him and I had been on the road for 4 months. I can't see him now. He come back around again.
I didn't know if he had fallen off the cliff or not. So I thought, if I have to call someone, what do I tell them?
Throughout the making of this tape, I would also like to give a special thanks to Linda Bissonnette for her beautiful singing. This tape is dedicated to my grandfather, Douglas Glenmore, whose Indian name is Black Bear. I hope you enjoy listening to this tape. Keep me in your prayers. Aho.
He is barefooted. For those of you that just joined us, this is Sean Younker, one of my very bold young camera people. He got bored. We had been on the road for 4 months. So on a very, very windy day, he decided to climb this.
This whole climb did not take very long.
Mountain overlooking Columbia River.
When you do the same thing for a long time, it's okay to break it up a little bit and
do something different than drive. It was a quick trip. We had to get home, and we would take every chance we could get to just do something for ourselves. That's really important. Because when you're on a journey, you're not supposed to have schedules. And universe will take you where you need to be. Yeah, it took us where we needed to be, but I was worried. It was so windy. I guess young people are great. They don't think at all. But he was up there blowing, and I thought he was going to be the Flying Dutchman here in a minute. He is doing well, by the way. He is in an international percussion band and traveling the world. And we are driving through the clouds. We are driving through the clouds on the highway there. These are actual clouds. We are driving through the clouds. That's how high we are. I guess we're gonna do tunnels for a minute here. This is in an RV, so it looks different.
I think we got these tunnels on the way over, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every day.
Okay.
I told you the wrong story.
Yeah, we're getting it.
We got Tina back. That's who filmed it. We are in the little car.
In a rush to get with her.
To recap for you, we had this show, the series of shows had multiple purposes. One was to teach a person how to film, to show you the pitfalls, and take you along on our journey in April of 2006 that we took to California, a young woman named Tina and myself. We are in number 12, and I have a little surprise for you because we're number 11. No, we're number 12. 13 and 14, the sound is perfect, so I don't have to talk over it. And out of 14, only 2 came out the way they needed to be. And so we are on the way home, and we appreciate you coming with us all this time. We had good conversation, and we met wonderful people, and this of course is part of what I call the no-brainer series, because some of us just want to sit back and relax a little bit and look. Towards the end here, some of the footage was extremely bad, so normally we don't edit. We found it necessary to edit some of this, and that is why we gave you footage from previous years on the same roads. So even though it was at different time periods, we are on the same roads heading in the same direction. And Allison and Kay, when you go on your little journey this year, at least you know where you're going, and where to stop and where to eat. Little man in the boat. It's actually a hatchery in that area. I don't think that's the Columbia River. I think that's the waterway on the other side of the highway. I don't think that's part of the river. A public fishing hole, maybe. I don't know. But look at the different colors of the trees. Of course, we had to have another train somewhere. I was telling you earlier, I watched a whole hour show with trains. It's just fascinating to me. We don't know what that is.
This morning, it's amazing how many people know what's going on.
We have taken phone calls from the viewers over the last 3 months, well, 14 weeks, because this show has aired in other places. They asked us to go back, this year it'll be Ebony and myself, and we will get to those interviews you requested. And I don't know if you'll get to see it this year or next season, and we are already in the winter season now. If you can't wait, call me. I'll just give you the raw footage and then you can muddle through it. Look at the lava. We're living on volcanoes, talking about safe zones, evacuation routes. Where are you gonna go? A psychic had predicted that Mount St. Helens was gonna erupt sideways, towards the side there, and it would clog Bonneville Dam. When Ebony and I was on the road, it actually erupted sideways, but it did not affect the dam. But for those of you that have never been in that area, it's something to see, and Highway 14 is actually one of my favorite places to be. And every time you come through there, it seems that it changes with the seasons and the people, and it's just a beautiful highway. And you realize how little you are as a person between the wind and the water and escape routes. How funny. Yeah. The speed limit is 60, so I'm sure we're speeding by now.
I came on one in front of my RV and a fucker came on corner like that. The front was okay, but the back was kind of, most of it, I could see his eyeballs. He was terrified because he figured his tail was going to cook me, you know. That would be
Gonna give you a little music here.
I mean, I saw it, but because I was in the RV, I was way up here. But when I had to slow down, I do. Not only did we get
Well,
on a straight line
here's
again.
the thing. I got a little stuck here when we filmed that last insert, and I'd gained a little weight and had no idea that I was going to get myself stuck. And so I just turned around and stuck as we was on the way home. All roads lead to Stonehenge, and well, at least we know where we were and where we're going. And this is Roadrunner number 12, and so I'm going to have to get somebody to help me out of here. We're going to play some Johnny Clegg for you at the end here. And again, next week the sound is the original sound, so I don't have to talk over anything, and that might be refreshing for you. And then we're done with this whole series here, and go back to conspiracies and aliens, and I'm running out of space in my house. There are over 500 shows. They are too deep, and I guess we're gonna see you next week. And there I was pleading for somebody to come and help me. I guess bye.
Roadrunner, Lilian, Miss Lilian.
Brandy is now in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we will see you next week. Bye.
It is just because you really care. When our journey goes, oh, it begins. It's part of why our plans begin. And if we do our part, fill our wishes we've had from Lilian, Miss Lilian, we'd like to thank you for all the fun while you took us here and took us there. It is just because you really
Thank you.
love you.